Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Okay, a few points from yesterday on the Swarup Lakshan. Okay, Sridhar.
So Swarup Lakshan has three characteristics: Krishna, Anushilanam, and Anukulyena. So we started with the word Krishna. So Krishna is never alone. He is along with his Swamsha, Vibhinamsha, and all his paraphernalia and pure devotees. So we never worship Krishna alone.
Okay, so when we speak of devotional service, it includes
Swamsha, Vibhinamsha.
Vibhinamsha?
No, sorry, Swamsha.
Swamsha.
Pure devotees.
Pure devotees.
And paraphernalia.
Okay, good. Okay, something on Anushilanam? Raj, go.
Anu means the following, and one more meaning is continuously, constantly.
Correct.
Shilana means behavior.
Yes, activities. Okay, good. Something else? Okay, Ujjwala. आप वो इतना दूर क्यों बैठते हैं? Cozy corner.
Prabhuji, Anushilam is obtained by the mercy of Guru and Krishna.
Yes. हाँ दे दो.
You in this point only you said that following means in somebody, if you are saying love is there, means you have to do some practical activity also. So in that regard, follow Krishna.
So practical activity, Anu, following. Okay.
Guruji, this one point was about what are the different two aspects of being favorable. That is, one is pleasing to Krishna and is also done with intention to please Krishna.
Before that, in Anushilanam, we saw one more point. What is that? Two things. What are two things?
Pravritti and Nivritti both. Pravritti means things which need to be done, and Nivritti which need to be avoided.
Avoided. And they're done with? They're done with what? Body, mind, and words. Okay, theek hai. Okay, now you say your point on Anukulyan.
Actually, this Anukulyan or favorable basically has two characteristics. That is, it should be pleasing to Krishna and it should be done with an intention to please Krishna.
So why both are important?
Because that understanding was given that if only it is pleasing to Krishna, too limiting or it is too extensive. So even that devotees by that definition, because it is ultimately pleasing to Krishna in various. And even Mother Yasoda's activity also does not become devotional service because it's sometimes not pleasing to Krishna apparently, but it is done with the intention to please Krishna, and hence both qualities should be there.
Okay, good. One or two more points. Online, who's there? Somebody is there online? Who's there online? Online, somebody wants to say?
When we were discussing about data selection and the primary and secondary factors, we said that primary factors are important. And then when we were discussing about the secondary factors, we also discussed about why in regards to Ujjwala's question, we were discussing that intention sometimes may not be directly of serving Krishna. When we discuss Anyabhilashita Shunyam.
Okay, so you're talking about Anyabhilashita Shunyam.
Yeah. Sometimes it may be of self-perseverance and all this stuff. But because the ultimate reason of that desire is to have body or have that situation to please Krishna, so that also falls into the category of pure devotionalism, although the desire apparently, immediate desire apparently may not be directly Krishna.
Okay, fine. So you're explaining the meaning of the suffix ita, right? Yes, so that is the motive.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, we had also seen the meaning of Anusilinam from the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, that how it is can be too extensive, but if it is too limiting, then in that cases we saw the two cases. If we extend it too much, then Kans can also be a devotee, and if we limit it too much, then Yashoda can be a demon. So, in the definition, it was told that how if we avoid the if it is the definition is devoid of the hostility on the part of the performer, then the anukulena doesn't have any meaning. So both the part has to be considered simultaneously.
Right. Okay. Shri
Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु
हाँ कौन है
प्रभु अपूर्व गोविंद दास here
हाँ
अपूर्व गोविंद दास here प्रभु
अच्छा okay
Prabhuji, yesterday you were giving an example of a policeman, and even a millionaire has to stop when policeman or traffic police ask for it. In the same manner, if we are being guided by some authority, and because of just like in the case of traffic police, a millionaire stops because of his connection with government. So similarly, we should also abide by the instructions or the rules and regulations which are put up by the authorities, and we should follow it because of the connection.
Okay, good.
Yes, please. Hare Krishna. So same point, Prabhuji, that you referred 9. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. So Bhagavad Gita 9.13, Mahatmanastu Mam Partha Devim Prakritim Ashita. So you shared that following Mahatma as they are under Krishna's energy. So it is very important, and you gave reference of one Prabhupada pastime that where Prabhupada told to Gurudas Prabhu when he was undecisive about whether to wear footwear or not in Vrindavan. Prabhupada told, just do what I am doing. So that is importance of Mahatma or Acharya, bona fide Sampradaya and spiritual master. Then only it becomes authoritative. Otherwise, it could be out of our mind also. So that is very important.
Okay, good one.
Prabhuji, that Anu following for that Srila Prabhupada example given. So many devotees said, Prabhupada, you created do such a wonder thing. Yeah, then Prabhupada emphasized that whatever my Guru Maharaj told me to preach and distribute books, I did this. It shows that following.
Okay.
Just following.
Right.
So in support of these all, you have referred that 10.2.31 purport there. And in the last of purport, there is two main important point that one is to be in the association of devotees, means we have to stay in ISKCON. And second, we have to strictly follow the whatever regulatory principles and instructions given by the spiritual master.
Right. Okay. Okay, fine. So then we saw the Tatastha Lakshan, Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. So Anya Abhilash. So Anya Abhilash refers to
no other desire except serving
other
Krishna.
material desires.
Material desires.
And what is the definition of material desire?
Which is except Krishna's service.
Yes, any desire except the desire to serve Krishna is a material desire. So all that have to be made shunya, zero. And then we discussed about ita. So in life-threatening situations, one may pray to the Lord for help, protection. But then if the motive is simply to serve, then that can also be included within pure devotional service, and therefore sadhana bhakti can also be included within pure devotional service, because on the platform of sadhana bhakti, some desires for self-preservation may be there, but then if the motive is correct, ultimately to serve, then that can be considered to be bona fide. Okay, fine. So now we will go on to the next Tatastha Lakshan, that is Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. Okay. So we read from Prabhupada's book also. So jnana means impersonal philosophy, karma means fruitive activity, adi, etc. could mean artificial detachment, renunciation, mystic yoga, yes, astrology also. Anamritam not covered. So I'm just reading once again from Prabhupada's book. Karma or fruitive activities are sometimes understood to be ritualistic activities. There are many persons who are very much attracted by the ritualistic activities described in the Vedas. But if one becomes attracted simply to ritualistic activities without understanding Krishna, his activities are unfavorable to Krishna consciousness. Actually, Krishna consciousness can be based simply on hearing, chanting, remembering, etc. 9 process. Okay. And then jnana refers to impersonal philosophy. As Prabhupada has done, philosophical speculation refers to the sort of speculation which ultimately arrives at a conclusion of voidism or impersonalism. This conclusion is useless for a Krishna conscious person. Okay. And anavritam means not covered. So basically here, Rupa Goswami is explaining that the bhakti must not be covered by karma and jnana. So he didn't say jnana karmadi shunyam, because jnana karma cannot be made shunya. Because, as we already discussed, anushilanam. Shilanam means what? Activities. Activities means karma. So therefore, karma cannot be made zero. So activities need to be performed. As Prabhupada is saying here also, Navida Bhakti. They're all activities. So karma needs to be performed. Activities need to be performed for the pleasure of the Lord. But those activities which obstruct bhakti, which are unfavorable to bhakti, must not be there. So unfavorable karma must not cover bhakti. Or unfavorable jnana must not cover bhakti. Jnana is required for bhakti. Correct? That's why we are studying, na? The Shastras we are studying. Why? Because jnana is required. Knowledge about the Supreme Sambandha Jnana, Abhideya, Prayojan. So all this jnana is required. So jnana cannot be made shunya. But that type of jnana which is an obstacle to bhakti must be removed. That must not cover bhakti. So therefore it is not shunyam. Okay, that's one important point. Now, what exactly does karma and jnana mean? So now, in this context, karma, so basically there are 3 types of karmas described in the Shastras. So there is kamya karma, nitya karma, and naimittik karma. These are 3 types of karmas. Kamya karma, nitya karmas, and naimittik karmas. So kamya karmas means activities which are done to fulfill some material desires, gross material desires. So these are called kamya karma. So even within the realm of the Vedas, there are some kamya karmas prescribed. Like basically, somebody performs some yajnas, karmakanda yajnas to go to the heavenly planets or to obtain a son or something like that. So these are karmas prescribed in the Vedas for fulfillment of some material desires. So definitely Kamya karmas are definitely an obstruction to the practice of devotional service. Kamya karmas definitely need to be made zero, because kamya karmas means they are directly material desires, correct? Kamya karmas means the material desires, and that has already been said. Those need to be made zero. There's no doubt about that. Now, coming to nitya karmas and naimittik karmas. Now, what is meant by nitya karma? So, nitya karma in this context refers to some activities, prescribed duties which are performed daily. They're prescribed by the Shastras. So, prescribed duties performed daily, ultimately with the purpose of coming to the primary nitya karma, that is devotional service. Okay. So, the actual nitya karma of the jiva, the primary nitya karma of the jiva is what? To serve Krishna. So that is the actual nitya karma. But there are other nitya karmas which are prescribed in the Shastras, which help one to come to that actual or the primary nitya karma. So these are called the secondary nitya karmas. So now, what are these secondary nitya karmas? The common example that is given is Sandhya Vandana. So just like the Brahmanas, they chant Gayatri 3 times a day. That is called Sandhya. Vandana means offering some prayers. So that also offering prayers, chanting mantras, these are also daily performed activities. So these come under the category of nitya karmas, which need to be performed daily. But ultimately, they are ultimately meant for the purpose of coming to the point of devotional service. So just like the Brahmanas. So the Brahmanas who are in Sattvagun, they chant Sandhya Vandana, they chant, but then they may not be pure devotees. All Brahmanas may not be pure devotees. But they chant daily. That is duty. That is the duty of the Brahmanas. But then ultimately, it is there for purification, by which ultimately, gradually, they get elevated to come to the platform of pure devotional service. So these are called as nitya karmas. Naimittik karmas refers to karmas that need to be performed occasionally. So within this, the various examples that are given are varnashram duties or practice of certain austerities, penances, or performance of certain rites like Shraddha ceremonies. So all these come under naimittik karmas, occasionally performed activities. Again, prescribed in the Shastra. Okay, so these are all prescribed in the Shastra. So this all comes into the category of karma. If something is not prescribed in the Shastra, then it will come under the category of, yes, vikarma. Vikarma. So we are not talking about vikarma. Vikarma is out of Shastra. We are not talking about that at all. We are talking about duties which are prescribed in the Shastra. So these are nitya karmas. These are some examples of nitya karmas and naimittik karmas. So now these nitya karmas and naimittik karmas which are prescribed in the Shastra, they also should not interfere with the performance of devotional service. They should not cover the practices of devotional service. So if they're conducive to the practice of devotional service, then they can be accepted. But if they are an obstacle to the practice of devotional service, then they also need to be rejected. All right. Just like even observance of truthfulness as a quality of Brahmanas is also considered to be a naimittik karma, because that's a quality of a Brahmana. So now we have example of how Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was attached to truthfulness. We all know the famous story. Krishna told him to tell a lie, and he said, how can I do this? He was attached to truthfulness, even though Krishna himself was giving an instruction. So then Srila Prabhupada says that as a result of that, he had to see hell for some time. So that means that his attachment to truthfulness as a naimittic karma was an obstacle to his practice of bhakti. Or Srila Prabhupada also gives the other example, that is, Arjuna was attached to non-violence. So non-violence is also good quality. Being non-violent, ahimsa, good quality. Mahatma Gandhi was attached to ahimsa. His whole life was meant for that. But then Krishna said, no, you give up this ahimsa business. This is nonsense. Fight. So the point is that if there is some scriptural injunction or some activities prescribed in the scriptures, but if it is an obstacle to bhakti or a covering to bhakti, that needs to be rejected. One cannot be attached on the platform of pure devotional service. One cannot be attached to any activity except the activity to please Krishna. That is the only consideration. Also, we read about that story from the Mahabharata, I suppose, right? That there was the butcher chasing the cow, and then there was a Brahmana's house on the way, and then they asked him, so where did the cow go? So the Brahmana thought, how can I tell lies? I'm Brahmana, I'm supposed to tell the truth. And so he showed. And we know he had to face a reaction for that. For telling the truth, he had to face a reaction. So the point is that while performing these nitya karmas and naimittik karmas, if it is an obstacle to the practice of pure devotional service, they must be rejected. They cannot cover pure devotional service. So just like, to give a simple example, so just like if, so normally we chant the evening Gayatri at 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. So suppose at 6 p.m., exactly 6 p.m., one is told to render some service. Say your spiritual master is coming, and you're supposed to receive him. So what will you do? Go to receive the spiritual master or sit and chant Gayatri? Yes. Why? Because that is direct devotional service. Of course, chanting Gayatri is also an instruction by the spiritual master only. But still, receiving the spiritual master will be considered to be on a much higher platform than being attached to chanting the Gayatri at that specific time. Of course, we are not saying don't chant. We are not saying that. You can postpone that for some time. That is the point. So, give the mic.
The senior devotees in our class that once one of the very senior devotees of our ashram itself, he was in Chowpati and Maharaj had called him. And servant came and he said, no, I am doing my Gayatri. Servant literally pulled off his hand like that and well, this your spiritual master is calling doing like that.
Right. So, so these are, so that is the meaning of that the karma must not cover bhakti. So here the karma refers to these nitya karmas, naimittik karmas. So, so any of these examples that we gave, any of these activities, they should not cover the practices of bhakti. I don't remember if I told you this past time before, but when Srila Prabhupada went to Moscow, I told in Bhakti Shastri class, I told. Everyone knows the past time? Okay, you tell, you tell.
No.
In Moscow, there was nothing available for food. So some other Shamsundar Prabhu got some milk and rice. That too
Thick rice, very thick rice, so they
very-
could not make anything.
So Prabhupada told that we can make sweet rice. So when they made sweet rice, it was very huge quantity and they don't have sufficient pots. So Prabhupada told him go to the bathroom and bring his lota to put sweet rice.
Right. So the devotee said, "What? Lota? It's dirty. How can we?" Prabhupada said, "Yes, throwing prasadam is sinful. Doesn't matter. Bring the lota." So, if there is a smarta Brahman, what will he say? He will say, "This Swamiji is crazy. Huh? What is this?" Huh? See, that is why in the Sunday class we were mentioning from Mukunda Maharaj's book, Miracle on the Second Avenue, that how the place where Srila Prabhupada was staying in the Bauri was stinking of liquor, stool, no, urine and vomit. That was the stink which even Mukund Maharaj could not tolerate. He is a resident of the Bauri, but he also could not tolerate. Now, which Brahmana will go and stay in a place like that? That is why even Vaishnavas of other Sampradayas, they glorify Prabhupada so much. Because they said, we don't even go out of our village. What to speak of going to a place like that? There's no question. But Srila Prabhupada went to a place like that and stayed with drunkards, literally drunkards. We know that story of that David. He was on drugs, drinking, and Prabhupada was staying with him in that Bauri. Think about it. Will any one of us think of doing that? And Srila Prabhupada at that age and that culture during that time, Srila Prabhupada, born in Vaishnava family, totally cultured. But Srila Prabhupada went and stayed in such a place. Who will do that? This is the glory of Srila Prabhupada. Just to fulfill that instruction of the spiritual master, he didn't care about any of these things. That is bhakti. Topmost priority. The instruction of Guru and Krishna. So if he would have considered all these things, there was no question of preaching. There was no question of staying there. But Srila Prabhupada, he sacrificed all that. So that is the meaning of these fruitive activities. Karma must not cover bhakti. So we also find great souls cheating. Prabhupada wrote that famous statement. Yes, great souls cheat for great cause. And he gave 3 examples. What are they? No, that's what are the examples for great souls cheating for great cause? Yes, Sanatana Goswami cheating, Nawab Hussain Shah, and then jailkeeper. He bribed the jailkeeper, no, to escape. Not only just bribed him, he told him, you tell the Nawab that he went to Pastul and then he jumped in the Ganges. He told him to tell lies. That's one example. And tell examples from our Sampradaya. Who's the other Goswami who cheated?
Raghunath Das Goswami.
Yes, Raghunath Das Goswami. Who came? Yadunandan Acharya, right? He came to invite him. See, the Pujari is not coming. Please go and convince him. Yes, I'll come. You go ahead, I'll come. But he never went. He went the other way. He ran away. Total cheating. And Narad Muni went. Cursing no. How is that cheating? Of course, Srila Prabhupada gives his own example. He gives his own example. Srila Prabhupada also cheated. Tea or me. And he went away. So cheating, is cheating allowed? According to Shastras? Lying, cheating, no, not allowed. But great souls cheat for great cause. So two conditions, great soul, great cause. They have to be there. So the point is that, yes, Vamandev cheated Bali Maharaj. Yes, that's also true. Yes. What's your example?
Ramanujacharya, he wrote a letter to his wife on behalf of his father, her father.
Correct. And gave to that Brahmana. Yes. That's how he took sannyas. It was totally a cheating business. It's totally a cooked up letter. So yes. So therefore, so the point is that being attached to these nitya karmas and naimittik karmas, if they are not conducive to bhakti, then they should be given up. They should not cover bhakti. But if they are conducive to bhakti, then it is fine. So similarly, just like the observance of Shraddha ceremony. So observance of Shraddha ceremony for Vaishnavas, actually it's not required. But at the same time, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also did. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did. Does it cover bhakti? No, it doesn't cover bhakti. So if it is not covering bhakti, then it is fine. But if it is some obstacle to bhakti, if one is being forced to do some karmakanda rituals in the name of Shraddha, if one is forced to do some karmakanda rituals or something which are an obstruction to bhakti, no, then that's not allowed. If it is favorable to bhakti, okay, somebody is doing Shraddha, but in Shraddha, what does a Vaishnav do? Yes. So do Harinam and feed Prasadam. If somebody is doing just that, then that is fine. That doesn't cover bhakti. But if somebody is inviting some karmakanda brahmanas and doing some karmakanda rituals and all that, then that covers bhakti. That is not allowed. So therefore, everything must be seen in the light of whether something covers bhakti or not. So here the example of astrology is also given. So the same principle. So if it doesn't cover bhakti, if it is not an obstruction to bhakti, then it is fine. But then if an astrologer is saying you have to worship this devata, you have to offer some goat to Kali and all those things, can we do? No, we cannot do. Just because an astrologer is saying there will be some auspiciousness, you do these things. No, we cannot do. This goes against the principles of bhakti. So we cannot do something which goes against the principles of bhakti. If something is favorable to bhakti, is in line with the bhakti principles, then it is fine. Now, you go ahead. There's a quote from Giriraj Maharaj's lecture. Okay, we'll read this quote first. Okay, Anavritam.
Anavritam, uncovered by mental speculation or fruitive activities. Karma kanda, jnana, karmadya anavritam, not covered. If you mix up karma with bhakti, if you mix up jnana with bhakti, or if you mix up yoga, it is contaminated. It is not pure. Pure devotional service is given by Rupa Goswami, Anya Bilashita Shunyam, no desire for fruitive activities or philosophical speculation, or yogic mystic, yogic magic. No, simply how to satisfy Krishna. That is bhakti. Anukullena means what is favorable, what Krishna desires. That is first class bhakti.
So just another example just came to my mind. These things happened after Srila Prabhupada left. So after Srila Prabhupada left, so just to maintain the movement, then some devotees started using some different methods to get money, which were not so appropriate. Trivikram Maharaj he gave a small hint, he said something about midnight Sankirtan. Of course, he didn't elaborate, but you can understand something. But there was one sannyasi actually who even started doing some jewelry business. Of course, the motivation was to earn money for Krishna. But did Srila Prabhupada ever recommend something like that? Do the Shastras recommend something like that for a sannyasi? No. So therefore, so then that comes in the zone of karma, which covers bhakti. So it is karma. Of course, we also collect money for serving Krishna. But this type of karma, especially for a sannyasi, if a grihastha does, it's understandable. But for a sannyasi, no. It goes against the bhakti principles. It's not favorable for bhakti. So obviously, the sannyasi could not maintain a sannyas. So therefore, one has to see what is favorable for bhakti. The ultimate principle is anukulisa sankalpa pratikulisa varjana. That is the principle. So if any karma is covering bhakti, it's an obstacle to bhakti, it has to be rejected. Okay, go ahead. This we read. Go ahead. Okay, go ahead. I just want to see that if that quote is. I think so it is. Okay, read this.
Karmadya Anavritam. One devotee in Bombay asked Prabhupada, should a devotee save a drowning man if he can? Or should he just say that it is materialistic activity and we are only interested in serving Krishna? So we should not interfere with his karma and we should let him die.
Okay.
Prabhupada replied that in principle he should not save him because actually we have no business interfering with people's actions and reactions. Then Prabhupada said that there is another consideration called loka vichar or public sentiment. A devotee may do something which is not strictly included in the category of devotional service out of consideration for public sentiment so that the people don't become hostile to the devotees and thus make it harder for the devotees to preach. But if we think that if I don't do some material pious activities, then I cannot achieve bhakti or some bad will come to me, that is against the principles of pure devotional service.
Yes. So, saving the drowning man, if it is not going to interfere with my bhakti, that means I'm capable of saving, first of all. Otherwise, he also drowns and I will also drown. Then what is the use? So not like that. But if I'm able to save him, and that is not going to interfere in my devotional practices, then it is fine. Why? Not that saving the man is necessary for my devotional service. No, what is the purpose? Lokavichar, for the purpose of preaching, so that there is a goodwill amongst the people and people will appreciate, and that will help our preaching. That is the reason. Just like in Melbourne. In Melbourne, there was fire in the neighbor's house, and then some of the Matajis, none of the men were there, only some Matajis were there. They went and saved the people over there, and then next day it came in the newspaper. And so that was favorable for preaching, and so Srila Prabhupada appreciated that. But the important point is this: but if we think that if I don't do some material pious activities, then I cannot achieve bhakti, or some bad will come to me, that is against the principles of pure devotional service. So if I think that, so two things. If I think that these material pious activities or some karma kanda or any of these nitya karmas, naimittik karmas, they are essential for my devotional service, then that is not correct. Or if one thinks that if I don't do them, it is sinful, that is also not correct. These are all obstacles to bhakti. So therefore, if something is favorable to bhakti, it is fine. But it is not that such material pious activities or some karma kanda or something like that is essential for my bhakti, and if I don't do it, it will be sinful. So, therefore, one should be careful about these things. And so sometimes devotees also get caught up with these things. They consult some karmakandiya astrologer or somebody like that, and people do some material pious activities thinking that it is essential. If I don't do it, my bhakti will be obstructed and things like that. Is this point clear?
Two questions. One was regarding this previously, what the example you told about the sannyasi doing that jewelry business. So, I mean, as we discussed before, the motivation of him, what was his motivation is that he wanted to like earn money for engaging in Krishna consciousness. But the main point here, why it is getting rejected, because it is not prescribed in the scriptures. It is not supposed to be done that way. But then we see some of the things like even Prabhupada did, which is not there in the scriptures, but he did for a higher purpose. I mean, just like sannyasi should not cross the ocean, but he did it for a higher purpose. So can we not put the same logic here that he is doing, although sannyasi is not supposed to do like that, but he is doing it for a higher purpose to save the movement or whatever for that matter. I don't know what is the reason why he is doing it. But can we think it in that light?
First thing is, Srila Prabhupada did everything according to the instruction of his spiritual master. Who gave him instruction to preach in the Western countries? Then how can he preach in Western countries without crossing the ocean?
Yeah.
So he was basically following instruction of the spiritual master. Now, one thing which Srila Prabhupada openly says, which a sannyasi should not do, and that is conduct marriages. That is no business for a sannyasi. But then, that time there was the need of the situation, because Srila Prabhupada was alone in the West. There was no one else to conduct marriages. And at the same time, he wanted to marry his disciples so that they can properly be situated in the Grihastha ashram. So for that purpose, then in those days, he did. As an emergency. It's an emergency duty.
So this emergency is a very subjective term. Like even that sannyasi in that situation also might have thought that now it is an emergency for the mission, so it has to be done. If you would have thought in that way, so like...
See, it is not, first of all, as far as earning money is concerned, everything should be done according to Guru Sadhu Shastra, right? So now, earning money according to Shastra, is it business of sannyasis?
No.
No. So whose business is it?
Grihasthas.
Grihasthas. It is not that there was no Grihastha at that time at all, that only the sannyasi has to earn. The situation was not like that. There were enough Grihasthas in the movement at that time. Right? So you cannot say that it was such an emergency that only the sannyasi had to earn money. No, the situation was not like that. There were so many grihasthas at that time. So this was after Prabhupada left.
Yeah.
So that means there was sufficient number of grihasthas who could do the earning money. And plus, it is not that Srila Prabhupada gave him an instruction that he should earn money by doing this way. That is, it's not an instruction. It's not an instruction by Prabhupada. It's not an instruction by his superior authorities or something like that. So it cannot be justified.
Prabhuji, just in parallel lines, like some observation, like when we go to some Gaudiya marts or some other places, we see like sannyasis also engaged in like money matters, like even like guest house or prasadam, they directly deal. So so how should we see those things then?
See, dealing with money is not a problem. Srila Prabhupada also dealt with money. So many sannyasis dealt with money in our movement. Even now, so many sannyasis are dealing with money in the sense that they're overseeing construction and funds and so many things. So if one is seeing money in the right perspective, then that is not a problem. But doing exclusive business just for the sake of earning money, that is surely not recommended. And of course, even if it is possible, then yes, even such duties can be given to other people. It's not necessary that sannyasis, the main duty of sannyasi is to preach. There is no other business. But because ours is a preaching mission, so many projects and all that, so sometimes it may be necessary for sannyasi to look into some money matters. But then if he's in right consciousness, that's fine.
One more was that related to astrology. Can I ask? So this regarding this few points, which are like which should not cover bhakti, as you said that.
So within that adi, yes, within that adi there is artificial renunciation, ashtanga yoga. So too much of artificial renunciation, practicing some very severe austerities. Which have not been recommended by our acharyas for whatever reason. So that is also not recommended. That will come under the category of dry renunciation. To give one example, there is example Chaturmasya. Chaturmasya. So during Srila Prabhupada's time, also 1976, Srila Prabhupada went for the Hyderabad temple opening. This was on Janmashtami day. So Prabhupada reached there maybe a few days before, and he saw that there are two sannyasis who were in charge of the project and they were staying there. And we know Janmashtami falls during the Chaturmasya time. So these two sannyasis had grown big beard during Chaturmasya. Prabhupada saw that. And so just the day before inauguration, Srila Prabhupada called the sannyasis and he just told, see, tomorrow is the installation ceremony and so many guests will be coming, and if they see that you're not clean, what will they think? Prabhupada said only this much. They got the message. They got the message and they shaved up immediately. So just like in one of our temples, there was one pujari. He was regular pujari, means doing every day he was doing pujari work, and during Chaturmasya time, same thing, big beard. So His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj said, no, if he wants to be pujari, he cannot do that. So these are this is artificial renunciation. This is not renunciation which is conducive for bhakti. So then it's rejected. It's covering bhakti. It's not pleasing to Guru and Krishna. So one cannot do that. So similarly, some yogic practices. So somebody is learning too much of yoga and too many yogasanas, spending 2 hours every day for yogasanas. So too much of that also is which will cover bhakti. No, not recommended. So as long as something is not covering bhakti, is not interfering with bhakti, it is fine.
I was wanting to ask some very specific things within that, like some subsidiary of the scriptures, like astrology comes as a subsidiary. It's not like the main focus of the scriptures. It is just one of the part. Similarly, there are other things like vastu, like even a temple also has to be designed according to the vastu principles and all that. So now if somewhere we see that that okay, temple is not according to the vastu or something like that. So then is it like there are two types of thoughts may come to a person, that okay, I will practice Krishna consciousness here with all my sincerity possible, and then we will not overlook whatever is the external things are there. And the other way of thinking could be that no, he may think that okay, my bhakti may not be so I am not a pure devotee to counteract all this material laws. So let me do the practical adjustment, whatever is required, and then continue bhakti. In that way, it could be more peacefully. I can practice or preach or whatever. So which one is covering bhakti, which is not? Which is some.
So therefore, in general, we can take guidance. We can take guidance as to what will be better. But essentially, again, the same principle. The same principle is somebody is so attached to Vastu that for every small thing he is consulting, and he's thinking more about Vastu than Krishna consciousness. Or too much endeavor. So just because the Vastu expert is saying, okay, this should be in this direction, so every few days break something here, do something there. So if it is too much of endeavor in that direction, again, which is an obstacle to bhakti, then one has to consider what is favorable, what is not favorable. So one cannot be too much attached to these things, because we have to understand that ultimately Krishna is in control. So all these are following natural laws. All this is based on natural laws. But then Krishna is transcendental to all such laws. And so therefore, okay, if it is not obstructing one's bhakti, okay, before construction one is consulting some Vastu expert, and then accordingly it is done, so then it's fine. So it's not an obstruction, but not that every 2 days something, breaking something and doing something, things like that. So these things must be taken into consideration. Best under some senior guidance one can do these things.
We were discussing about vikarma and all these things, no? So when we see, we were discussing karmas need to be done occasionally, or they are in nitya karma category. So these are mentioned in the shastras. Some things are vikarma also, and they are mentioned in the shastras, like eating meat. It is also there in the shastras, and it is vikarma also. So how we can
right. So what is there within Shastra regarding eating meat? What is in the Shastra?
It should be done on a black moon.
Yeah. So as long as if it is in accordance to Shastra, then it will come under karma. Right? That's the general definition of karma, isn't it? Anything done in accordance to the Shastra, that is called karma. Anything done disregarding the Shastric injunction, that is called as vikarma. That is the general definition. So then if somebody is eating meat according to Shastric injunctions, then that will also be considered as karma. Yes, it will be kami karma, yes. It's basically for sense gratification, yes. Okay. All right?
Hare Krishna, Guruji. I have also. It could seem hypothetical, but it is not. Sometimes it's practical. It happens like there was an example that one should not save the drowning man. So being a brahmachari, sometimes when we board the buses or comes down, sometimes there is jerk or people fall. So at that time, what we should do if that other person is Mataji or something. Like recently when we went for our initiation at GV, so one Mataji, she was elderly. So when she was getting up after taking beats, so she was about to just, because of her sari, she was about to fall. So I looked at Gaurang Prabhu. He did not touch her, but he was in the action like saving. So these are some practical cases. So how should a brahmachari should deal in those situations?
Time, place, circumstances. If the situation is such that there is no one else available, that's one condition. Second, the situation will not impede our bhakti, in the sense that nobody will blame me for doing something unethical. If I'm sure that this is not going to create an obstruction in my bhakti, then I can go ahead. If I know that this is going to create an obstruction in my bhakti, then as Srila Prabhupada said, better to leave the person to his karma. And why? Because recently, one such case actually happened, where a lady was a devotee. This was a devotee program, and I'm not getting into the details, but there was a Mataji devotee who got something like fits or whatever, and was about to fall, this, that, and there was the brahmachari preacher there, and so he helped her, and he went out of his way to help a little more and things like that. And it became a big issue. It became a big issue to the extent that the concerned brahmachari had to give up his post position and things like that. Okay. So it really went to a far extent for this very same reason, for helping a Mataji physically. So intentions may be good, but then we have to be very careful. So here Prabhupada is talking about lok prachar, so then some other prachar may take place. All right. So you have to be careful of what type of prachar will take place. We have to be very careful. So we definitely have to take these factors into consideration. So if one is very sure that, okay, no consequences which will impede my bhakti, if one is very sure about it, then it is. So the basic principle is what? Things should not impede our bhakti, cover our bhakti. That is the main principle. Otherwise, it will be like Bharat Maharaj and the deer. Intention was good, saving the deer, but we know what happened.
In this context, is like a brahmachari taking care of parents. To what extent? Because many times, sometimes we give money hand over to parents. Since their sense is not in control, they may spend, and then again the blame comes.
But whose money?
It's like in NVCC, it is told to like keep some money for parents in future. So brahmachari should not hold account, but still we'll see in Pune. In general, it is there, and parents ask also money. So we interpret in between, we give also them. So that was one question. Another is like taking care of parents to what extent. Sometimes some services are there, and some parents' health is not good. So
under guidance. But essentially the principle again remains the same. It should not cover our bhakti. It should not be an obstacle to our bhakti. So in the name of taking care of parents, we give up our devotional service. Then what's the use? Parents, this lifetime, these parents, another lifetime, another parents. Correct. Ultimately, that relationship is temporary. So therefore, of course, there's no question of becoming hard-hearted and things like that. We definitely have to take care. We have to feel grateful. We have to take care. All that is definitely essential. But at the same time, it cannot cover our bhakti. So just like sometimes these cases happen, they've happened here also. So mother tells the brahmachari, hey, what is this? You're staying in the ashram, you're not taking care of me, and who will take care of me in the future? This, that. So then there was one brahmachari like that who got married because of the pushing of the mother. And after he got married, then what the wife said? I won't stay with the mother. Then back to square A. The mother is still alone. You understand the point?
Yes.
So therefore, one has to see what is favorable. Whatever help we can give, definitely we can give, but not at the expense of our devotional service. That is the main principle here. The activity must not cover our devotional service, must not serve as an obstacle to our practice of devotional service. As long as it is conducive for our practice of devotional service is not being hampered, to that degree it is fine. And if one has doubts, how much is too much, consult.
The practice of yoga in morning program, for example, somebody
15 minutes, 20 minutes, ठीक है.
Like Guru Puja is going on and somebody's like,
well, at least I would not recommend that. Why? In 24 hours only Guru Puja time is available. Huh? Why?
7 to 7.
Huh?
7 to 7:30 yoga generally given by 10 minutes.
I don't know if it is officially given, then I don't know. 7 to 7:30. Oh, that is not Guru Puja time, no. That is fine. Yes, I mean, okay, that depends on the devotee. But if officially it is at this time, then it is fine. But of course, my recommendation, my suggestion would definitely be that, okay, if chanting is complete, then it is fine. Otherwise, why compromise with the chanting in the morning? So devotional service has to be given top priority. Everything else is going to perish. How much ever yoga we do and how many yoga asanas we do. So when COVID came, COVID didn't spare anyone. Whether one has done yoga, no yoga, COVID didn't spare anyone. So therefore, okay, we can do, but then it's not that we have to compromise with our devotional service. Srila Prabhupada, the Shrutikirti Prabhu tells this pastime. During Guru Puja, so once when Prabhupada was in Bombay, so Srila Prabhupada, he was always very alert, looking who's there, who's not there. So he found that his Sanskrit editor, Pradyumna Prabhu, he didn't find him during Guru Puja. Prabhupada immediately asked Shrutikirti Prabhu, where is Pradyumna? And then Shrutikirti Prabhu said, so recently he got Shaligram Shilas, and he was doing his own worship of Shaligram Shilas during that time. So Prabhupada said, go and tell him Guru Puja first, then your puja. So Prabhupada was very emphatic about these things. Because no Guru Puja, Prabhupada is not in the center, Guru is not in the center, then who will become the center? Oneself. So therefore he didn't appreciate these things. Okay, we'll come back.
Even the question was right from many days I had this question, like, a bit doubtful about it. Like in Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's life history, especially when he was building temples and all these things, we find there were two cases wherein it appeared as if it's against the Shastra, but it can be also be said that it was intense desire of pure devotee to serve Lord. Like one case was when one of the English viceroys or somebody was coming, he ordered the devotees to cook meat for them. And second case was when the BDs which were being made for the workers. So in this case, is it the correct way or another way to understand this?
Now this is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
Like intense desire of
we cannot even question this. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is giving instruction, we just fold our hands. Bas. There is no consideration of whether it is right or wrong.
No, certainly it's right only, but
so, and we cannot imitate it either. We can't question it, nor can we imitate it. That only he can do. Okay? So, yes, Tejasamna dosha, correct. Proper quoted this many times. So, that only he can do. Srila Prabhupada also did some things like that, but only such great acharyas, such great personalities can do. We can't imitate these things. One second.
That many times devotees are also doing some karmakandic activities, like somebody is having some dosha. So some karmakandi yajna is there to remove that dosha. So say that dosha will go, and some say like because we are under the three modes of material nature, this will affect us, and ultimately they want to get removal of the dosha because they want to practice bhakti only. So this is one aspect. Second thing about astrology also, there was one point. So many devotees nowadays, even counselors also suggest when they do some marriages, seek astrological help.
Marriages, of course. Marriages, Prabhupada also writes. Marriages is bona fide. That is bona fide use of astrology. That is accepted.
So is it good that even like devotees use this karmakandic activities, or sometimes it is told to wear some rings? So some dosha is there, Mangal dosh, Rahu dosh.
So that is what. So by wearing a ring, how much is going to affect devotional service?
Nothing.
Doesn't affect devotional service, right? So, but if such an activity is being recommended which affects the faith in devotional practices, in Krishna, then that would be unfavorable. So that's what, if it's the basic principle is this: the activity should not cover bhakti, should not serve as a serious impediment to bhakti. If it is something which is very small, like wearing a ring or wearing some gems and things. So if it's not a major interference to a practice of devotional service, then it is fine. But at the same time, there's Srila Prabhupada said different things at different times, but it's a recorded question answer session where one devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, when we are sick, should we go to the doctor or should we depend on Krishna? At that time, Srila Prabhupada says, if one can simply depend on Krishna, that is best. Srila Prabhupada says that. But of course, we know at other times Prabhupada said, okay, yes, do the needful, go to the doctor. But Srila Prabhupada's emphasis was always this. The emphasis was the more we can depend on Krishna, the more we can intensify devotional service, that is best. That is the principle. But if there is something like, going to the doctor, take some medicine or something which will not cause some serious impediment in our practice of devotional service, it is fine. But essentially the faith in Krishna, the faith in devotional service, that should not be impeded. That's important. So that's why if some karmakandi activity which is not all conducive to bhakti, we can't do all those things. Okay. Somebody done? Okay, good. So now the other aspect is jnana. So jnana, as Srila Prabhupada says over here, and philosophical speculation refers to the sort of speculation which ultimately arrives at a conclusion of voidism or impersonalism. This conclusion is useless for a Krishna conscious person. So that means any type of jnana which will result in voidism, which will result in the contamination of voidism or impersonalism. So what are the various aspects of this that have been described by the acharyas? So one thing is not presenting philosophy as it is, speculating, speculating something, not presenting philosophy as it is. Okay, there's nothing over here. You can. So, so such type of speculation should not be done. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada always emphasized, no addition, no subtraction, no concoctions. Present the philosophy as it is. And this is what we should be careful about. We have discussed these points in Bhakti, during Bhakti Shastri also we discussed that if I hear something from a speaker and if I'm not clear as to what is the source, what should I do? First option? Yes, find out from the speaker what is the source. If I don't get it, yes, at least don't repeat it, at least don't quote it, don't spread the wrong things. So that is very important. And so these days, especially just to entertain people, then speakers sometimes tend to use some concoctions, concocted examples, speculation, many things these days. So many things. Acha, WhatsApp Puran. Fortunately, we have never opened that Puran. So yes, but sometimes we hear devotees using some of this, and sometimes I ask, what is the reference? Oh, there's some WhatsApp message, right? So no, that's not our reference. That's not our reference. We can't use that as an authentic source. So we should be very clear about what is the source. And so if we contaminate our devotional practices with these things, what will reduce? The purity of the message will reduce. Then the message will not be spiritually potent because of the contamination. So therefore, the best is to repeat things as it is, or if there is doubt, better confirm, things like that. So that is one understanding. Second thing, again, talking about impersonalism, voidism. So it is not something which is limited to just voidists and mayavadis. Anybody who is not a devotee has mayavad tendencies. What does mayavad mean? Mayavad means what? The main essence of the mayavad philosophy is what? Yes, denying the existence of God and wanting to become God. Correct? So the voidists say no God, and the mayavadis say, I want to become God, or I am God. So these are the tendencies. So gross materialists are, you could say, either voidists or impersonalists. So again, in this context, again, we have to be careful from whom we are hearing, what we are reading. So many spiritual organizations, so-called spiritual speakers, they may have contamination of Mayavad. And if we hear them and repeat what they're saying, what are we doing? Yes, we are contaminating our understanding with Mayavad. That is going to cover Bhakti. That is going to cover Bhakti. So similarly, sometimes our preachers use things from books written by materialistic persons. They tend to read books written by materialistic people and use those things. And so then we are contaminating it with these philosophies of voidism and impersonalism, Mayavad. It is the mentality that is carried. That is, consciousness is the same. That is the consciousness that is there with these people, and that is what we'll be contaminated with. So, examples. There are some If somebody is qualified to do that and have some specific service, then it is fine. It is not something which can be done by anyone and everyone.
Especially in managerial principles, we refer.
So that is what. So see, some senior devotees have already done the job. They've already done the job, and if you are referring to those things, then that is fine. But it's not that everyone has to do it. And then also one should know what is my adhikar. How can I remain safe even after doing those things? So I should know what is my adhikar. So one has to be careful with all these things. There have been many accidents that have taken place because of these things. Another understanding of this contamination of gyan, because the main goal of the Gyanis is what? Liberation, right? Liberation. So liberation, why they want liberation? Yes, no more suffering, no more anxieties. I want Shanti. So this is the goal of the Gyanis. So therefore, if one is in devotional service also, if one is having that desire for Shanti, this is also the contamination of Gyan. So if somebody is given a service and one thinks that, okay, I've been given this service, but okay, what to do? Let me somehow finish it off. Yes. So that I can do my own things. So this is the contamination of Gyan. One doesn't like the service, rather one wants Shanti. One wants peace. One wants liberation from service. The service is a burden, and one wants liberation from that. So if one is thinking, either one is thinking, I don't want any service. I just want to live peacefully. Either one is thinking like that, or if one is given service, one is thinking, khatam karo, kaise to khatam karo. So if that is the mentality, again it is the same contamination of Gyan. So all these mentalities will cover bhakti, because bhakti means what? Yes, bhakti means to serve. How can we consider the service to be a burden? Correct? We are here for what? For what? To serve. Then how can we consider service to be a burden? In spiritual world, what one will do? There is nothing besides service in the spiritual world. Eternal service. So if one is feeling service to be a burden, then, and one is thinking of getting rid of the service, it's not conducive to bhakti. Such a mentality covers bhakti. So all these are understandings of the contamination of Gyan. Okay. So Gyan is required, but it must be conducive for a practice of devotional service. Okay, clear? Huh? Huh? Yes, service means out of love. That's correct. Yes, loving devotional service. So similarly, chanting. Khatam karo, khatam karo. So Shrutakirti Prabhu tells, this happened 2 or 3 times. Srila Prabhupada saw, as he was going somewhere in the temple premises somewhere, he saw one bead bag hanging. So Srila Prabhupada said, who has left this bead bag crying? 2, 3 times it happened. Who has left this bead bag crying? 10,000. So of course we have to keep it carefully somewhere. But the point is that it's not that one is thinking, finish it, somehow finish it. Yes, one must finish, no doubt. But then the mentality is not that it's a burden. I want to get rid of it because I have better things to do, which I think are important. That's a wrong mentality. Yes, who wants to say?
Sometimes, Roji, like studying scriptures for better understanding, for discussion. So sometimes some say like, oh, ज्ञान ना जरूरत नहीं है. So in such cases, what we should do? Or
Then why did Prabhupada write the books?
they say serve more, service is important.
Agreed. Point is agreed. But isn't reading also a service? On Sunday, Prabhupada Saraswati Maharaj told that incident, no? A.C. Bhakti Vadan Swami. You didn't hear? So, Prabhupada wrote these books for devotees to read, no? So how can one say reading is not a service? These courses, who started? So we're doing everything according to Prabhupada's instructions. How can one say this is not service? And of course, we mathematically, logically proved. You know that?
This classes
is within what? Yes, it's within Prabhupada's program because we are not attending Bhagavad Gita class in the evening. So we're not doing something extra. So basic instruction of Prabhupada only we are following. We're not doing anything extra. Prabhupada wanted these courses besides the daily hearing of classes morning and evening. But this is still within that quota of morning and evening classes only. Think about it. When Srila Prabhupada started the courses, this was outside the morning and evening class quota, right? But this is still fitting into that morning and evening quota only. So what is extra? You have to ask them. If somebody is saying, you ask them this question. That is why we prove to you that this is within the morning and evening class quota. We are not doing anything extra. We are barely following Prabhupada's instructions. Forget about extra. So useless argument. Okay, if they don't want to do courses, fine. But it is to falling within morning and evening classes only. It is not extra. Okay.
For filling the sadhana card, so we do sometimes this book reading as a duty. So that gradually becomes love.
Okay, that is fine. Initially, we don't have so much love, so much taste. So at least as a matter of duty, we're doing. That is fine. But duty also does not mean simply burden. Na? Duty also should not be simply burden. So there must be some liking. Some liking must be there.
Means understanding and reading.
Yeah, so I may not have so much taste, but at least I should know that by doing this, Guru and Krishna will be pleased. At least with that intention one should do. Not that somehow finish it. Some quality should be there, no?
If later anyone asks about that, we should.
What?
If later asked about that, we should be able to tell what they read.
Correct. Yes. Naito, half an hour I sat with the book in front and mind somewhere else. I did my reading. You can't cheat. Okay, fine. Go ahead. Did we miss some slides in between? ठीक है, done. Karma refers to, so here, this I took from the Acharyas only, Vishwanath Thakur. This is what he is writing. Yes. Jnana means inquiry about the undifferentiated Brahman, not inquiry about worship of the Lord. For knowledge of the Lord is necessary for bhakti. Karma refers to daily and periodic duties. This is what we were referring to. Nitya and Naimittik karmas, enjoined by the Smriti scriptures. Not to the services offered to the Lord, for devotional activities are anushilna. The word adi indicates engaging in sacrifices, renunciation, yoga, sankhya, and other such items. These items should not cover anushilanam. The word shunya is not used in the second descriptive phrase as it was in the first, namely anya vilashita shunyam. The intention of using anavritam instead of shunya is to forbid only those types of jnana and karma which conceal bhakti. See? Okay. Okay, so that's a summary of the whole thing. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, online, they don't have any questions, huh? I hope they're hearing. Okay, so now Rupa Goswami also quotes this verse from the Narada Pancharatra as a definition of Uttama Bhakti. We all know the verse. Sarvabadi vinirmuktam tatparattvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchyate.
Bhakti or devotional service means engaging all our senses in the service of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Master of all the senses. When the spirit soul renders service unto the Supreme, there are two side effects. One is freed from all material designations, and one's senses are purified simply by being employed in the service of the Lord.
So this is also a definition of pure devotional service, and how it's analogous to the Anya Bilashata Shunyam. This the Acharya Vishwanath Thakur mentions this, right?
In this verse, Tat Paratvena, with devotion to him, taking him as the highest object, is the equivalent of Anukullena. Sarvopadhi Vinirmuktam, devoid of all conditions, is equivalent to Anya Bhilasita Shunya. Sevanam is the equivalent of Anushilanam. Nirmalam, without blemish, is the equivalent of Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. The superior nature of this bhakti, Uttamatvam, is understood by its very nature and thus is not stated in words.
Okay, so that's how it's analogous to the Anya Bilashata. That's all, I suppose, right? Anything else? Okay, fine. Okay, fine. So that's the end of this discussion on pure devotional service in the introduction, the first 12 verses. All right. So we'll take a break now and then we'll continue with chapter 1. Hare Krishna. And the mind may not be focused. So we have to engage both. So, and then when we engage, both get purified. Gross senses also get purified, subtle senses. Both have to get purified. So as far as the soul senses are concerned, they are in you could say covered. They're covered. So the full manifestation of spiritual senses will take place only in the spiritual world. Material world means material senses are going to act, no? So what is the definition? Iha yasya hare dasya karmana, manasa, gira. So what are these? Karmana, manasa. Yes. So they are totally engaged in the Lord's service, so they become purified. So therefore that example is given, na? Iron rod put in fire. So does the iron rod become fire? No, it is iron rod only, but acts like fire. So similarly, the gross senses remain, but they become spiritualized. Spiritualized. That means the quality of the senses changes. They're still gross, they're still matter, but they're as good as spiritual. Just like iron rod, as good as fire. It acts like fire. It's iron rod only, but acts like fire. Similarly, material senses, but they are spiritualized. Yes. That is Jivan Mukta. Only engaged. Next lesson. Okay, anyway, I just thought of one more point. So just like we were talking about under that karma, so one of the points he also mentions is about austerities. So even austerities must be conducive to the practice of devotional service. They must not cover bhakti. So just like there's Nirjala Ekadashi. So I heard in one temple, the temple president said, everyone has to compulsorily do Nirjal. Otherwise they won't be allowed to stay. So what if the person lands up in the hospital? You do whatever you want, you do, but you have to do Nirjal. So that type of austerity is never recommended. So only austerities which are conducive to bhakti. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada was never fanatic about austerities. So even though Srila Prabhupada did say that, yes, if you can fast totally without what, it's good. But then when Srila Prabhupada was asked, should we fast, what should we do? Srila Prabhupada said on one occasion, see, we have a lot of service to do. So we cannot be simply fasting. So therefore, ultimately, whatever is conducive to one's practice of devotional service, in accordance to Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, that is what one must do. So the ultimate principle is what is favorable to our practice of devotional service. That is the ultimate principle. And then, of course, what is favorable and what is unfavorable, who has to decide? Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. That is why 3-letter prefix, what is that? Within the definition, Anu. Anu means following. So one can't do whimsically, and everything must be conducive to bhakti. Okay, fine. Okay, so one more thing I just remind. So yesterday, Prabhu had brought up this discussion of going back to Godhead. I just thought of making one more point just to... So if somebody asks, say ultimately we are saying that it really doesn't matter. Whether one is heaven, hell, or on earth, it doesn't matter, correct? Because ultimately whatever Krishna desires, that's what we have to do. Then why to desire only to go back to God? But at the same time, Srila Prabhupada says millions of times, right? Going back home, back to Godhead, one must be eager to go, anxious to go. So many times Prabhupada says. So if somebody says, ultimately it doesn't make any difference, right? Ultimately, we have to surrender to Krishna, and then wherever Krishna plays, then why should we desire only to go back to Godhead?
Two things, Proji. First thing is repetitions. It reminds us of our goal.
Okay.
And if somebody is not having a goal, then what would be the impetus for achieving? So whatever we are doing, we should have some goal. So it could not be immediately pure devotional service for a person like me, but such things like going back to Godhead, because he was preaching in West and Christians and everything. So that made a lot of sense for them, like what we are heading to, fulfilling.
Yes, good points. Someone else add something? Huh?
Especially at a condition stage, it can add to an impetus of the sadhaka, because otherwise complacency may creep in. And
Correct.
eventually, if that tendency is there, that anyways I have to remain in the material one according to desire of Krishna, what's the problem if I...
Correct. So this is the great risk of not having that impetus. So if one thinks, anyways I have to remain in material world, तो फिर क्या है, ठीक है, यहाँ यहीं रहना है तो भक्ति भी ठीक, कैसे तो भी करेंगे, ठीक है, कुछ तो करेंगे, ठीक, यहीं तो रहना है ना, और कहाँ जाना है, यहीं तो रहना है, और कुछ तो भक्ति करेंगे तो मनुष्य जन्म तो मिलने वाला है. So one will not feel any impetus to practice devotional service. So therefore, definitely we have to have that goal, going back home, back to Godhead. And in order to go back home, back to Godhead, then what is required? What is required? Yes, the desire. So then if I want to fulfill that desire, then what to do? Purification, right? Prabhupada says, no, you want to enter fire? Yes, one has to become fiery. One has to approach Krishna, who is totally pure. One has to become purified. So then one will have that impetus to become purified, because that's the qualification to go back to Godhead. I need purification. So then I have to practice intense devotional service to become purified. So then there is a goal and there's an impetus to practice and all that. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada kept hammering that point, that one must be eager to go back home, back to Godhead. So then after one gets purified and one is eligible to go back home, back to Godhead, then fine, then wherever Krishna places. But at least as far as we as sadhakas are concerned, definitely we need to have that goal and the impetus. I need to get purified to go back home, back to God. Okay, so that's important. Otherwise one will think, "Arey, theek hai, kya hai? Chalega."
Explanation I heard, I just wanted to get confirmed. So one devotee was telling, he was giving lecture in VIH. So the reference is like the soul, where is the soul? So soul is within, we say, like in the Pancha Prana, the soul is lying there. So now then the explanation goes like this, is that when we say there is a back to Godhead, so there is a place called spiritual world and this material world. And when we say like we want to go from here to there, that is what we are talking about, back to Godhead. So when we say, but where is this material world? So the soul is within body and this body is within Brahmanda. This Brahmanda is like Mahavishnu's navel. This Garbhodaksha Vishnu is come from Mahavishnu. And where is Mahavishnu? So whether Mahavishnu is in material world or spiritual world. So he is God, he is in like Vishnu, he is in spiritual world. So where we are? So we are in spiritual world.
ये दूसरा philosophy मत लाओ भाई.
No. This is what I heard.
ये आगे चलो, आगे चलो.
So the point was that what the conclusion was that what we have to purify is that is what the Mahaprabhu starts. Cheto darpana marjanam.
Correct. That is correct.
That was the point.
Bas. Next lesson. Okay, let's go at chapter 1. Characteristics of pure devotional service. So first paragraph. Okay, somebody read the first 2 paragraphs there. Hey, line.
In Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 29th chapter, verses 12 and 13, Srila Kapil Dev, while instructing his mother, has given the following characteristics of pure devotional service. My dear mother, those who are my pure devotees and who have no desire for material benefit or philosophical speculation have their minds so much engaged in my service that they are never interested in asking me for anything except to be engaged in that service. They do not even beg to live in my abode with me. There are 5 kinds of liberation, namely to become one with the Lord,
to live with the Supreme Lord on the same planet, to have the same features as the Lord, to enjoy the same opulences as the Lord, and to live as a companion of the Lord. A devotee, what to speak of rejecting material sense gratification, does not even want any of the 5 kinds of liberation. He is satisfied simply by discharging loving service to the Lord. That is the characteristic of pure devotion.
Okay, fine. So now, so Rupa Goswami is describing the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. Correct? Okay, so this is a verse from the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Many of these verses have been quoted by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So though we have not put the Chaitanya Charitamrita references here, but you'll find many of these verses in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Kleshagni, Shubhada, Mokshalagutakrit, Sudurlabha, Sandrananda Visheshatma, Shri Krishna Karshni Chasa. So 6 characteristics: Kleshagni, Shubhada, Mokshalagutakrit, Sudurlabha, Sandrananda Visheshatma, and Shri Krishna Karshni. Next. So Kleshagni means pure devotional service brings immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. Now the sequence of these 6 characteristics is also important. It has to be in this sequence only. Next. So Shubhada. Shubhada means pure devotional service is the beginning of all auspiciousness. Moksha Lagutakrit, those in pure devotional service deride even the conception of liberation. Sudurlabha, pure devotional service rarely achieved. Sandrananda Visheshatma, pure devotional service automatically puts one in transcendental pleasure. And Shri Krishna Krishna, pure devotional service is the only means to attract Krishna. Next. So now why the sequence is important? Because they manifest in this sequence. So at the level of sadhana bhakti, there's manifestation of Kleshagni and Shubhada. Then in Bhava Bhakti, another 2 are added. And they're added. Moksha Lagutakrit and Sudurlabha. And on the platform of Prem Bhakti, then there are all 6. Okay. So therefore that sequence is also important. Okay. Same thing. Okay. Okay, so now let's start a discussion on Kleshagni. So Klesha means material suffering, Gni means destroys. So pure devotional service brings immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. Next. So 3 kleshas are causes of suffering. Kleshas tu papam tad bijam avidya cheti te tridha. So klesha or suffering is said to be threefold. Oh, there are 3 causes of suffering. What are they? Papam, bijam, and avidya. Okay. So the root cause is ignorance, avidya. Because of avidya, there is bijam, various material desires. We already saw what's the definition of material desire. And then because of the material desires, one performs sinful activities, papam. And when there is papam, that is sinful activities. So sinful activities are illegal activities. So when one does something illegal, then the result is punishment. So punishment comes in the form of suffering. So these are the 3 causes, 3 main causes of suffering or kleshas. Okay, go ahead. Huh? That's what we'll discuss now.
So that desire to do comes from avidya.
Correct. Avidya leads to material desires. So what is avidya?
I am this body. I am
Yes.
not soul. I am not servant. I am self. I am here to enjoy all these.
Krishna bhuliya jeev bhogavancha kari. Nikatastha mayatari jhapati dhari. So the basic avidya is forgetting Krishna. Even in this verse, it comes bhayam dvitiya bhiniveshata syat. आगे क्या है? ईशा अपेतस्य viparyaya asmriti. So Isha apetasya means forgetting the Supreme Lord. So because of forgetfulness of the Supreme Lord, then as a result of that, there is viparyaya. Viparyaya, that means one is put in the bodily misconception. Asmriti, one forgets who am I. One forgets that I'm spirit soul. One thinks I'm the body. And because of the bodily misidentification, that is basically the false ego, and because of that false ego, there is fear. Dvitiya abhinivesh. Abhinivesh means there's absorption. There is absorption in the bodily misconception. We are absorbed. Since time immemorial, we've been thinking I'm the body. So there is total absorption in the bodily misconception. And that is the cause of fear. So, but the root cause is the forgetfulness of Krishna. That is the root cause. And that leads to the false ego. And so that is basically what is avidya. And so when one thinks I am the body, then the next concept is I have to enjoy the body. I'm thinking I am the body. Yes, then the next thing is one thinks I have to enjoy the body, separate from Krishna. And so when one tries to enjoy the body separate from Krishna, that is called sin. That is called sin. Srila Prabhupada has given a beautiful definition of sin in the purport to the first verse of the first mantra of the Ishopanishad. What is that? Yes, deliberate disobedience of. Let's see exactly. A very nice definition. Read. Yes, deliberate disobedience of the laws of nature. Deliberate disobedience of the laws of nature through disregarding the proprietorship of the Supreme Lord. Okay, leave it. So that is the root of sin. That is basically avidya. The root of sin is deliberate disobedience of the laws of nature through disregarding the proprietorship. So that disregarding the proprietorship of the Supreme Lord is forgetfulness of the Supreme Lord. So when one forgets that all this belongs to the Supreme Lord is proprietor. Okay, the Supreme Lord is not proprietor. Who's proprietor? I. So everything is mine. Then what should I do? Enjoy. So that is the root of sin. That is the root of sin. So that is how the avidya leads to the material desire. Material desires lead to the sinful activities. Sinful activities lead to punishment in the form of kleshas. Okay. So go ahead. What is next? Okay. So now we will discuss each one of them and how the practice of devotional service ultimately destroys each of these various causes of sin or the causes of kleshas. That is what we'll see. Of course, they began with avidya. Maybe, okay, go ahead, otherwise we will change the sequence a little bit. Go ahead. We'll come to ignorance a little bit later. Okay, that one. So now, two kinds of sinful reactions. Aprarabdham bhaved papam prarabdham cheti tad vidha. So when one commits a sinful activity, what are the results? What are the reactions of the sinful activity? Aprarabdham, which is immature or unmanifest reaction. And then there is prarabdham, mature or manifest reaction. So aprarabdham means reaction is not yet manifest. but it's going to manifest in future lives. It's going to manifest in the future lives. So that is a prarabdham. And prarabdham means what is manifest now. What is manifest now with this body, whatever is coming with this body. So this is all prarabdha. Okay, go ahead. Okay, fine. So now we'll read from Prabhupada's book. Okay, read from Prabhupada's book. Relief from material distress.
Relief from material distress. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that one should surrender unto Him, giving up all other engagements. The Lord also gives His word there that He will protect surrendered soul from the reaction of all sinful activities. Srila Rupa Goswami says that the distresses from sinful activities are due to both to the sins themselves and to sins committed in our past lives. Generally, one commits sinful activities due to ignorance, but ignorance is no excuse for evading this reaction, sinful activities.
Okay, so Prabhupada always says, ignorance of law is no excuse. Example?
Fire.
Okay. Even
Child
child.
is putting.
Another example?
That I was not knowing.
Okay, a judge or also traffic police, somebody. Yes, so all those examples. Okay, go ahead.
Sinful activities are of two kinds, those which are mature and those which are not mature. The sinful activities for which we are suffering at the present moment are called mature. The many sinful activities stored within us for which we have not yet suffered are considered immature. For example, a man may have committed criminal acts but not yet been arrested for them. Now, as soon as he is detected, arrest is awaiting him. Similarly, for some of our sinful activities, we are awaiting distresses in the future. And for others, which are mature, we are suffering at the present moment. In this way, there is a chain of sinful activities and their concomitant distresses, and the conditioned soul is suffering life after life due to these sins. He is suffering in the present life the results of sinful activities from his past life, and he is meanwhile creating further sufferings for his future life.
So now he is giving an example of prarabdha karma.
Mature sinful activities are exhibited if one is suffering from some chronic disease, if one is suffering from legal implication, if one is born in a low and degraded family, or if one is uneducated or very ugly.
Yes, so all these are examples of prarabdha, for which one is suffering right now. So along with the body, so all these prarabdha, that means these are reactions of past sinful activities. So whether it is suffering from some chronic disease, legal implication, low birth, ugly, this, that. So all these for which one is suffering now, this is all prarabdha karma due to previous sinful activities. Okay. Okay, just go ahead.
There are many results.
Wait. Here. Go ahead. I just want to complete that cycle of sin. Then we will get into this a little more detailed discussion. Go ahead. So when one commits a sinful activity, there is a prarabdha. Now there are two results of a prarabdha. One result is the prarabdha, which is direct physical or emotional suffering. And the other result of a prarabdha is kutam, that is indirect suffering by increased sinful proclivity. So the tendency to commit sin increases every time one commits a sinful activity. Go ahead. So that is why this is more clear. So papam, aprarabdha, unmanifest reaction. There are two results of the aprarabdha. One is prarabdha, manifest reaction is also called as phalonmukam. And then the other result of aprarabdha is kutam, sinful propensity, which results in bijam, sinful desire. Then again he performs the sinful activity. This is how the cycle continues. Okay, the same thing. Here one thing is added, avidya. Avidya or ignorance is the root cause. So as a result of that, the sinful desires, bijam, papam, Aprarabdha lead to prarabdha, and then kutam, and that's how the cycle continues. Clear?
Yes, this cycle.
What?
Last slide.
Previous slide they want to see. Same. Okay. So now devotional service is so potent and powerful that it can destroy all the aspects of this cycle, including avidya, which is the root cause. All of them can be destroyed by the practice of devotional service. That is how powerful devotional service is. And so Rupa Goswami systematically proves how all aspects of sinful reaction are destroyed by the practice of devotional service. And that's the major part of the discussion now that Rupa Goswami gives. And somebody saying something?
I have a question online.
Huh.
Question is, can you explain on what is the difference between propensity and desire, uttam and bijam? Not able to understand.
Okay. Sinful proclivity is a general tendency to commit sinful activities or activities against the injunctions of the scriptures. It is a general tendency. And when we talk about bijam, it refers to specific sinful material desires. A desire to commit a particular sinful activity. That's a specific material desire. So that is so material desires or the bijam are very specific, but kutam is a general tendency to commit sin, sinful proclivity. That is the difference. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so vasanas or they're basically desires only. So the impressions, basically, vasanas are impressions resulting from previous sinful activities. So when one commits a sinful activity, then there is an impression. In fact, whatever one does, good or bad, it leaves an impression within the mind. Kutam, well, we cannot say kutam is exactly, well, could say. Yes. Yes, so we can say yes with the vasanas. Yes, the impressions could be put under kutam. Yes, that's correct. And then the bijam is a more specific desire to commit a specific sinful activity. That is the bijam, a desire to commit a specific sinful activity. But yes, kutam is more general. That means, in general, the impressions to perform the activities, they are stored within the mind. And in the fourth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the subject matter actually is dealt with very nicely over there also by Narad Muni. And Srila Prabhupada gives some very nice purports there. So there he explains that how when one commits some activities, then there are impressions. It's just like photographs. So just like when we see something, there's an impression created in the mind, right? So that is how things work. So just like, say for the first time you eat a gulab jamun, then when you eat the gulab jamun, then what happens? Okay, one thing is you experience the taste, but then at the same time, there is an impression created in the mind. And that is stored in the mind. There's an impression created. And so therefore, then next time when one sees a gulab jamun, then what happens? Yes, then the mind accesses those previous impressions, and that's how the mind gives information to the intelligence, and then everything gets activated because that impression is stored. That, see, last time you ate, you got this sensation and you liked the sensation, so now once again enjoy. Yes, it's all very fast. It's all on the subtle platform, no? Subtle, all very fast. Yes, but process is same. So that same thing applies even whether it's good impression, bad impression, same thing applies. So even when one does some sinful activity, now why one does a sinful activity? For the same reason. Ultimately, what is the tendency of the jiva? To enjoy. Tendency of the jiva is to enjoy. But because of the illusion, one thinks that the material activity is giving some enjoyment. That is the illusion. But the senses, under the influence of Maya, they give that impression that there is some enjoyment. They give some impression. And therefore, because that impression is there, therefore the person wants to repeat the activity to experience that same so-called pleasure. But the fact is that those impressions are all stored. And so therefore Srila Prabhupada explains that all these material desires, since time immemorial, how many things we have experienced and how many things have been stored. So all these desires, Prabhupada explains, they're all stored within the mind in chronological order. This is all subtle substance. There is no limit. In your mobile, you have some limit, no? For how many photos you can take? There's some limit, no? And then when it gets full, what? You'll have to delete some, right? But for the mind, no limit. It is subtle. So everything is stored. And then Srila Prabhupada explains that for every desire, one will have to accept one material body. That is how, since time immemorial, so many bodies. This desire, this body. This desire, this body. That all permutation, combination, that Maya Devi is doing all her calculations. She knows what to do. But the fact remains that for satisfaction of material desires, Krishna mercifully awards material bodies.
Through knowledge, can we cut that desires?
That is the topic of discussion. Hold on. Okay, fine. So now we'll go ahead. How devotional service now destroys everything. Okay. Now let's continue our reading of Srila Prabhupada's book. The next paragraph.
Of past sinful activities for which we are suffering at the present moment. And we may be suffering in the future due to our present sinful activities. But all these reactions to sinful deeds can immediately be stopped if we take to Krishna consciousness. As evidence for this, Rupa Goswami quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 14th chapter, verse 19. This verse says, in connection with Lord Krishna's instructions to Uddhav, where he says, "My dear Uddhav, devotional service unto me is just like a blazing fire which can burn into ashes unlimited fuel supplied to it." The purport is that as the blazing fire can burn any amount of fuel to ashes, so devotional service to Lord in Krishna consciousness can burn up all the fuel of sinful activities. For example, in the Gita, Arjun thought that fighting was a sinful activity, but Krishna engaged him on the battlefield under his order, and so the fighting became devotional service. Therefore, Arjun was not subjected to any sinful reaction.
Okay. So now Rupa Goswami gives this verse as an example for destruction of aprarabdha. This verse has been given as an example for destruction of aprarabdha. So the aprarabdha is destroyed by the practice of devotional service. That means what reactions one is supposed to suffer in the future are nullified. They are nullified. Now, how they get nullified? Of course, Krishna can just nullify them, but there could be different ways in which Krishna nullifies them. This is again explained in that 29th chapter of the 4th canto by Narad Muni. And Srila Prabhupada explains in those purports that sometimes, especially for devotees, so we're talking about devotees only. So for devotees, sometimes the sinful reactions that they're supposed to experience in the future may sometimes be experienced in dreams. And that is how they get neutralized. So in the dream only one gets the sinful reaction. One experiences the sinful reaction in the dream. How? So they could, so whatever it is, one could experience the particular body one is supposed to get next life. That one could experience. Or we all have experience of some nightmares, no?
Pain also get.
Yes, when there's nightmare, there's pain also. Prabhupada gives an example, no? One is being chased by tiger, then what happens? The person is actually experiencing the tiger. The fright is there, the fear is there, the sweating is there, maybe screaming also is there. We hear people screaming, no, sometimes. Yes, but it is happening in the subtle body. The experience is in the subtle, on the subtle platform, no? But then subtle affects the gross body also. Subtle affects the gross body. But then the experience is happening in the mind, on the subtle platform. So that is how future bodies, future suffering may take place in dreams, and that is how they get neutralized. This is mercy of Krishna on the devotees. Instead of actually getting the gross body and going through all the suffering, one only sees in the dream and it's neutralized. What is better, to see in the dream or to actually get another body? This is mercy of Krishna on the devotees. See, they will get for according to their own karma. But this is Krishna's mercy on the devotee, that he is neutralizing the previous sinful activities. What is supposed to come in the future in separate bodies is being neutralized through the dreams. Yes, it is definitely token punishment. It is token only, no? Very small token it is. Just imagine getting another body, spending so many years in that body, going through so much suffering in a few minutes or how much time? Dream, it's finished. So very small token. So anyways, so this verse is describing how the aprarabdha is destroyed by the practice of devotional service. So we must understand this is the glory of devotional service. Just imagine, so one is saved from so much of suffering in the future by this practice, by the practice of devotional service. And so here the example is given, analogy is being in a what? Fire. So when there's blazing fire, what happens? Yes, the fuel is burnt into ashes, just like there's wood. So if there's wood, you put fire to the wood turns into ashes. But then the example of fire is given. So the fire is used for what? Say cooking. The fire is used for cooking. So this explanation Vishwanath Chakravarti gives. So he says that The main purpose of the fire is what? Cooking. As far as the burning of the wood into ashes is concerned, that is secondary. The main purpose is what? Cooking. So similarly, the main purpose of devotional service is what? Yes, the main purpose is Krishna Prem. Destruction of sinful reactions is only, yes, it's only a secondary effect. So the destruction of sinful reactions is not our goal. That's not our primary goal. We are not practicing devotional service simply so that sinful reactions will get burnt and we won't suffer. That is not our main goal. The main goal is pleasing Krishna, getting Krishna Prem. That is our main goal. But in any case, all the aprarabdha sinful reactions are burnt by the practice of devotional service. ठीक है. So
then here when Lakshmi Thakurji says like the fire's main purpose is to cook, and the side effect is that.
See, if one is lighting a fire, one lights a fire with some purpose, no, usually. Unless you are putting fire to some waste material or something like that. But in most cases, we light a fire for some purpose, no? It may be cooking or some other purpose, whatever it is.
So here may be that then we want to get rid of these things so that we can practice bhakti naturally. For example, these desires manifest some type of distraction when we are chanting Hare Krishna.
That is correct, but that is not our main goal.
We are not stopping there.
See, for this could be one of the main goals for the Gyanis. For the Gyanis, getting liberation from suffering, getting liberation from the material entanglement, that is the main goal. Their main goal is mukti. But as far as devotees are concerned, the devotees are not after mukti, right? Mukti is not our goal. As Srila Prabhupada quoted so often from Bilva Mangal Thakur, Mukti, Mukritanjali, Sevate Asman. Mukti is standing at the Mukti personified is standing like a maid servant in front of the devotee's house. So Mukti is not our goal. Our main goal is to please Krishna, to love Krishna.
But they are the coming obstacle to serve Krishna purely.
Okay, fine. Fine, they are obstacle, no doubt they are obstacle, but our main purpose in practicing devotional service is what?
To serve, basically.
To serve for what?
To please Krishna.
To please Krishna. That is the main thing. Our main purpose is not simply to be free from sinful reaction so that I lead peaceful life and go to sleep. That is not the purpose.
But can we pray like yesterday? I just wanted to ask this. I could not. Okay, when we pray to Krishna, that like please purify my heart. So this Abhilasha.
So that Prahlad Maharaj prayed, no?
Rudroka. So we can pray.
So we can follow. He is Mahajan. Can follow in his footsteps. Okay, fine. So this is about aprarabdha. Okay, continue reading.
Srila Rupa Goswami quotes.
You read.
Srila Rupa Goswami quotes another verse from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam.
It comes before.
33rd chapter, verse 6, in which Devhuti addresses her son Kapil Dev and says, "My dear Lord, there are 9 different kinds of devotional service, beginning from hearing and chanting. Anyone who hears about your pastimes, who chant about your glories, who offers you obeisances, who thinks of you, and in this way execute any one of 9 kinds of devotional service, even if he is born in a family of dog eaters, the lowest grade of mankind, becomes immediately qualified to perform sacrifices."
Okay, so let's recite the verse. Yannamadeya shravananukirtanat yat pravanadya smaranat apikvachit Shvadopi sadya savanaya kalpate kuta punaste bhagavan darshanat. Translation. Of course, we already read the translation, but still.
Even a person born in a family of dog eaters immediately becomes eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices if he once utters the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or chants about him, hears about his pastimes, offers him obeisances, or even remembers him.
Okay, now continue to read from the book.
As such, how is it possible that anyone actually engaged in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness has not become purified? It is not possible. One who is engaged in Krishna consciousness and devotional service has without doubt become freed from all contamination of material sinful activities. Devotional service therefore has the power to actually nullify all kinds of reaction to sinful deeds. A devotee is nevertheless always alert not to commit any sinful activities. This is his specific qualification as a devotee. Thus, Srimad Bhagavatam states that by performing devotional service, a person who was born even in a family of dog eaters may become eligible to take part in the performance of ritualistic ceremonies recommended in the Vedas. It is implicit in this statement that a person born into a family of dog eaters is generally not fit for performing yajna or sacrifice. The priestly caste in charge of performing these ritualistic ceremonies recommended in the Vedas is called the Brahmana order. Unless one is a Brahmana, he cannot perform these ceremonies.
Continue. Continue.
A person is born in a Brahmana family or in a family of dog eaters due to his past activities. If a person is born in a family of dog eaters, it means that his past activities were all sinful. But if even such a person takes to the path of devotional service and begins to chant the holy names of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, he is at once fit to perform the ritualistic ceremonies. This means that his sinful reactions have immediately become neutralized.
Okay. So this is an example of how prarabdha is nullified by devotional service. This is how prarabdha is also nullified. So just like here the example is given, Mother Devati is giving, that somebody is born in a dog eater's family. That is what? That is his prarabdha. That is his prarabdha. Because of his previous sinful activities, he has now been born in a family of dog eaters. Now he already has the body. Correct? Can he do something about it? No, he can't do anything. He's already born in that family. He can't do anything about it now. But by practicing of devotional service, and even once uttering the holy name, of course it refers to Shuddhanam, what happens? He immediately becomes eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices. So because of the purification that takes place by the practice of devotional service, he becomes qualified to even perform Vedic sacrifices. Okay, now go ahead. Okay, this is by Vishnu Chakra. Read.
Sinful acts cause reactions in the form of unfavorable circumstances, such as low birth, acquisition of bad qualities, and suffering. These are all removed by bhakti. In some cases, the circumstances cannot be removed immediately. Such a case is one's birth. By performing bhakti, one cannot change one's birth from particular parents within this lifetime. Some circumstances, such as sickness, can be destroyed, as well as the bad qualities and the suffering caused by bad qualities or circumstances are destroyed by bhakti. The dog eater who becomes a devotee cannot remove his birth and certain incidents ensuing from it, such as not being educated in the Vedas, but he can remove the bad qualities and the suffering. The changing of birth would have to wait until next lifetime.
Yes. So, even prarabdha can be changed by the practice of devotional service. So regarding this birth, so he's already taken birth in a certain family, in the dog eater's family, because of his past sinful activities. That birth cannot be changed. So now, because this dog eater, he has not studied the Vedas, because somebody who's born in dog eater's family, he is not qualified to study the Vedas. Correct? Only the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas in the Vedic times, only the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas were qualified to go to the Gurukul and study the Vedas. So somebody who's a Shwapacha, he is out of Varnashram, Mlecha. So obviously he cannot go to the Gurukul, he cannot study Vedas. So he has not studied the Vedas. So because he has not studied the Vedas, he cannot perform Vedic sacrifices. He cannot perform Vedic sacrifices. So now he takes to the practice of devotional service, he becomes purified, and because he becomes purified, he is now eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices. So now the question may be asked, so is he just eligible or can he perform? But he has not studied the Vedas, he has not studied how to perform Vedic sacrifices. Then somebody may say, so if he has to, now he has performed devotional service, now he's already grown up. Now he cannot go to Gurukul, age is finished to go to the Gurukul. So then if he has to go to the Gurukul and study the Vedas again, then obviously he'll have to wait for the next life. Then next life he may be born in the Brahmanas family, and then he will go to the Gurukul and study the Vedas, and then he can perform Vedic sacrifices. Correct?
He's doing like chanting. In ISKCON also we see so many examples, like they are performing sacrifices. They have learned through the Vaishnava way.
Yes. So therefore, the point is that he is not only just eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices, he is actually qualified and he can perform the Vedic sacrifices by his practice of devotional service. So now, the point is that, okay, even though he may not have gone to the Gurukul and studied the Vedas and the Vedic sacrifices and all that, according to the Vedic way, so therefore, in devotional service, we have the Pancharatric way. So according to the Pancharatras, then anyone from any family can practice devotional service, be initiated by a bona fide spiritual master, and by being initiated by the bona fide spiritual master, then he becomes qualified to worship the deity, he becomes qualified to perform Vedic sacrifices. All that is possible. Of course, the devotee, he may not be so much interested in performing Vedic sacrifices. That is another thing. He may not be interested in performing Vedic sacrifices, but if he wants, he can perform Vedic sacrifice also. And therefore, who is the classic example for this? Somebody low-born, elevated. The recent times. Some Shastri example. Okay, so the Goswami was empowered by Baldev. Okay. Yes, Haridas Thakur, classic example. So Haridas Thakur has been born in low family, but when Advaita Acharya was performing the Shraddha ceremony, he offered the Shraddha Patra to Haridas Thakur. And Haridas Thakur said, why me? I'm not Brahmana. So actually in those days where the caste system was very rigidly being practiced, and Advaita Acharya is the leader of the Brahmanas, to do something like that was very revolutionary. Obviously, Advaita Acharya was ready to face so much of criticism from the Brahmanas for that. But Advaita Acharya had firm faith on the Shastra. And so what Advaita Acharya said? By feeding you, I am feeding hundreds of Brahmanas. So that is what happens when one takes to the practice of devotional service. So even though the birth cannot be changed, but the effects of the birth can be changed. Birth cannot be changed because already body is born. But the effects of that birth can be totally changed by the practice of devotional service. And of course, within ISKCON, we see so many devotees and from Western families and so many different types of families. And now you see at so many of our DT installation ceremonies, so many of these boys from Gurukul come, so many of them are Westerners, right? But they're performing. Vedic sacrifices they're performing. So that is how, by the, as we'll see later on, Sanatana Goswami talks about bell metal. Yes, by contact with mercury, one can produce gold. So similarly, by Diksha Vidanena, by the Diksha from the bona fide spiritual master, then and practicing the process, then one becomes purified, then one becomes eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices. One can perform Vedic sacrifices. According, of course, may not be in the absolute Vedic way, but according to Narad Pancharatra, which is bona fide. So in Kali Yuga, that process can be followed, and that is how one becomes qualified, and the effects of the bad birth are totally nullified by the practice of devotional service.
So here this question is, at like here after purification or just beginning the process of purification?
The point is Diksha Vidanena. Yes, Dvijatvam, yes. One becomes Dvija. So it is the spiritual master who, by that process of Diksha, makes him qualified. And of course, there is a pre-qualification. He has to follow the process. Then he becomes qualified for Diksha, isn't it? But then, when the spiritual master initiates him, then the spiritual master is making him qualified. And of course, then he has to continue the process of purification. So that's how he becomes. And so many other aspects of prarabdha are also changed, as he's saying here. And so sometimes low birth, acquisition of bad qualities. And so somebody may have some bad qualities, but then again, by the practice of devotional service, one gets purified, the bad qualities can change. Bad qualities, bad habits, so many things change. And suffering, so the suffering can change. So just like if somebody has been addicted to some bad habits like smoking, drinking, then even health suffers because of that. So one stops all that, then health also improves. And so when health improves, then as Srila Prabhupada said, even the Americans were surprised how your disciples are so bright-faced. Correct? So that means even from a physical viewpoint, if somebody is ugly, by the practice of devotional service, one becomes beautiful, bright-faced. Yes. Maybe you heard that incident, I don't know if I told you before, about one of Prabhupada's disciples. He told this. Of course, Purnachandra Maharaj. He taught us Bhakti Shastri. So he told us this incident when he was staying at Bhaktivedanta Manor. So one person, he just came up to him one day, and then he saw him and he said, "Sir, can I ask you a personal question?" "Okay, what?" "Which soap do you use?" So Prabhu said, "No, any soap that's available in the market, nothing special." No. Please tell. Some special soap you must be using. So that's how he was so surprised that how these devotees are looking something different. And that's what Srila Prabhupada also said. He said, they all look like Vaikuntha men after shaving. And so that is how even the prarabdha changes by the practice of devotional service. In ISKCON, actually, we see some devotees who were literally illiterate, giving Bhagavad Kathas and giving wonderful lectures. Literally we see. So, if they were in that same position, then who would listen to them? Who would care to listen to them? But now there are thousands of people ready to listen to them, illiterate people. Yes. Kushakrit Prabhu. Actually, Trivikram Maharaj in his book, he writes about how this Kushakrit Prabhu first came. I'm trying to recollect. I just read it recently from his book. So he says that so the first time he came, Srila Prabhupada was giving a class, and after the class, so after the kirtan, then we chant this Premadhvani, right? Premadhvani. So anyway, so after Jayarada Madhav, Prabhupada chanted the Premadhvani and then he gave class. So after the class, when he asked for questions, so this Kushakrit Prabhu, Peter, basically was Peter. So he very mockingly, jokingly, he asked Srila Prabhupada about that Premadhvani. So he didn't know that it's Premadhvani or something, but he asked some very stupid question. What is the meaning of that mama mama something you say? What is that? Some joking question he asked like that. So Trivikram Maharaj says, so he was sitting here. So it was an auditorium, I suppose. It was an auditorium where Prabhupada was giving a program. So he was sitting, and this Peter was sitting just behind him, to his left. And when Srila Prabhupada heard that question, Srila Prabhupada became very angry. And Srila Prabhupada looked at him angrily and heavily chastised him. So Trivikram Maharaj writes that chastisement was like a thunderbolt that went over his shoulder, and he was affected by that. It was so heavy. But then Trivikram Maharaj writes, such was the potency of Prabhupada's words and that chastisement that he became devotee. That is the potency of the chastisement of the pure devotee. That this person was practically crazy, asking some stupid question, no meaning, but he not only became a devotee, but then he became scholarly devotee, translating so many books. So, why were we discussing this? Yes, that's how prarabdha changes. Yes, we were discussing that. How even somebody who was supposedly a crazy person can become a scholarly person by the practice of devotional service. And there are so many others also. So that is how prarabdha changes by the practice of devotions.
This material body is also a product of prarabdha. No?
Correct.
So how if prarabdha changes, but material body still remains?
Correct.
So is it the fact that 100% prarabdha? Because
yes,
will
we are
not
not,
live only.
so we are not saying that 100% prarabdha will change, because already body is there. So we cannot say 100% prarabdha will change. But then the effects of the body, they are transformed. Like the effects of the low birth, the effects of being illiterate, the effects of being ugly or whatever. So the illiteracy may be there, the ugliness may be there, those things may remain. But the effects of that, they are transformed. They are transformed. That is the point.
Prabhuji, it's a simultaneous process of in devotee's life, that removal of this aprarabdha and this prarabdha by Krishna in the life.
Everything is happening simultaneously. Of course, now we will come to that. There's a certain sequence also in which things are happening, but it's not absolutely like one thing finishes and another. It's definitely simultaneous, but still there's a sequence. We'll come to that. Okay, fine. So this is the example of prarabdha being destroyed by devotional service. Previously we saw aprarabdha. Now this is prarabdha. Okay. Now, okay. So now we will go to, okay, now Srila Prabhupada, now your question will be answered in the next paragraph. Read the next paragraph. It is stated in the Padma Puran.
It is stated in the
You can
Padma
put that
Puran
verse.
that there are 4 kinds of effects due to sinful activities, which are listed as follows. First, the effect which is not yet fructified. Second, the effect which is lying as seed. Third, the effect which is already mature. And fourth, the effect which is almost mature. It is also stated that all these 4 effects become immediately vanquished for those who surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu and become engaged in his devotional service in full Krishna consciousness.
Okay, so this is the verse that Prabhupada is referring to here. Aprarabdha phalam papam kutam bijam phalonmukam krameneva praliyeta Vishnu bhakti ratatmanam. So he's saying krameneva praliyeta. So krameneva means step by step gradually. And so therefore the sequence is from recent to past. From recent to past. That means first prarabdha, then bijam, kutam, aprarabdha. That is the sequence. What?
On the day of Diksha, which we heard is like aprarabdha is gone. Spiritual master destroys all aprarabdha. Therefore, that banana.
Yes. So that is true. Aprarabdha is also destroyed, but even the prarabdha gets changed. Because before that also he is practicing devotional service, no? So gradually, so all these things get eradicated. So therefore it is said that first of all it is phalonmukam. Phalonmukam is prarabdha. So that is the sequence. Phalonmukam, bijam, kutam, aprarabdha. Aprarabdha phalam. So that is the sequence in which the reactions are destroyed. So that is what the Padma Purana is stating. Because see, the phalonmukham, that is mature sinful activities, so even before the Diksha takes place, the person is already following 4 regulative principles. He has given up sinful activities. So already there's a change in the gross body also. And then gradually then the bijam, the material desires and all those will gradually become destroyed. That is one point. Another point is that yes, at the time of Diksha, definitely as Srila Prabhupada says, the account becomes 0. Prabhupada says that. That means all the sinful, the spiritual master is representative of Krishna. He neutralizes all the sinful reactions. But at the same time, of course, then it's the duty of the disciple not to commit sinful activities again. So then if he commits sinful activities again, then again there are sinful reactions. And then again they will be gradually destroyed. So the thing continues in a cyclical way.
This verse talks about all the 4. So then why is the need of previous 2? Already this verse is like everything is getting destroyed.
Yes.
So before 2, like
there are proofs. Rupa Goswami is giving evidences.
I mean to say that this verse itself is the proof that all 4 go away.
Yes, no doubt. This verse is definitely the proof But still, Rupa Goswami is specifically showing that how each one of them is destroyed. So, of course, this is also one evidence. This is also an evidence, and those are also evidences. He's giving all the evidences so that one is convinced about the potency of the devotional service. So this is the sequence in which all these are destroyed. So now what remains? Now Bijam, Bijam, and then Avidya. So should we complete today or continue tomorrow? क्या बोलो क्या चाहिए कंटिन्यू करो maybe it'll take some 10 minutes. Yes. I just thought of finishing this discussion today. See, Vishwanath Thakur in the commentaries to these verses, he says it very clearly that it is from recent to past. So recent means what is already manifest, no? This is recent. Anyway, we'll think about that later. Okay, so now coming to Bijam. Bijam means material desires. Okay, I think so. The next, okay, we'll read. Continue reading. These effects describe.
Jaldi padho. Those effects described as almost mature refer to the distress from which one is suffering at present, and the effects lying as seed are in the core of the heart, where there is a certain stock of sinful desires which are like seeds. The Sanskrit word kuta means that they are almost ready to produce the seed or the effect of the seed. An immature effect refers to the case where the seedling has not begun. From this statement of Padma Puran, it is understood that material contamination is very subtle. Its beginning, its fruition and results, and how one suffers such results in the form of distress are part of a great chain. When one catches some disease, it is often very difficult to ascertain the cause of the disease, where it is originated and how it is maturing. The suffering of a disease, however, does not appear all of a sudden. It actually takes time, and as in the medical field, for precaution's sake, the doctor injects a vaccination to prevent the growing of contamination. The practical injection to stop all the fructifications of the seeds of our sinful activities is simply engagement in Krishna consciousness.
Continue.
In this connection, Sukadeva Goswami speaks in the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd chapter, verse 17, about the story of Azamila, who began life as a fine and dutiful Brahmana, but in his young manhood became wholly corrupted by a prostitute. At the end of his wicked life, just by calling the name Narayana, Krishna, he was saved despite so much sin. Sukadeva points out that austerity, charity, and the performance of ritualistic ceremonies for counteracting sinful activities are recommended processes, but that by performing them one cannot remove the sinful desire seed from the heart, as was the case with Azamil in his youth. This sinful desire seed can be removed only by achieving Krishna consciousness, and this can be accomplished by very easily by chanting the Maha Mantra or Hare Krishna mantra as recommended by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In other words, unless one adopts the path of devotional service, he cannot be 100% clean from all the reactions of sinful activities.
Continue.
By performing Vedic ritualistic activities, by giving money in charity, and by undergoing austerity, one can temporarily become free from the reactions of sinful activities, but at the next moment, he must again become engaged in sinful activities. For example, a person suffering from venereal disease on account of excessive indulgence in sex life has to undergo some severe pain in medical treatment, and he is then cured for the time being. But because he has not been able to remove the sex desire from his heart,
he must again indulge in the same thing and become victim of the same disease. So medical treatment may give temporary relief. How many pages? The distress of such win-win disease, but unless one is trained to understand the sex life of one animal, it is impossible to be saved from such repeated distress. Similarly, the ritualistic performances, charity and austerity, which are recommended in the Vedas, may temporarily stop one from acting in sinful ways, but as long as the heart is not clear, one will have to repeat sinful activities again and again.
One more paragraph.
Another example given in Srimad Bhagavatam concerns the elephant who enters into a lake and takes a bath very seriously, cleansing his body thoroughly. Then as soon as he comes onto shore, he again takes some dust from the earth and throws it over his body. Similarly, a person who is not trained in Krishna consciousness cannot become completely free from the desire for sinful activities. Neither the yoga process, nor philosophical speculations, nor fruitive activities can save one from the seeds of sinful desires. Only by being engaged in devotional service can this be done.
Okay, so I'm sure most of us know this conversation between Shukdev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj. And so initially, Parikshit Maharaj asked the question, how can the living entities be saved from hellish conditions? And then Shukdev Goswami first gives the answer from Karmakand by Prayashchita. And then Parikshit Maharaj says it is like Kunjara Shauchavat, the elephant taking bath. Then he gives answer from Jnanakand, Tapasa Brahmacharyena, Shamena, Damena, Vas, all that. And then again, Parikshit Maharaj rejects that also. And then finally, Kechit Kevalaya Bhaktya Vasudeva Parayana Agam Dhunvanti Kasneya Niharam Eva Bhaskara. So it's only by the practice of devotional service that the material desire, the sinful desire seeds can only be destroyed by the practice of devotional service. Karmani nirdahati kintucha bhakti bhajam. So only all the other process may nullify the reactions to the sins, but the tendency to commit sin and the sinful desire seeds can only be destroyed by the practice of devotional service. So that's about bijam, how bijam is destroyed. And then the last part is about the avidya, how avidya is destroyed. So avidya means the ahankar, the ahankar, the false ego, the tight knot of false ego. That is the bodily misconception. This is the last to go. This is the last to go, most difficult. And so therefore, okay, read. Here, from the book. There is another evidence.
There is another evidence.
You show it here.
4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 22nd chapter, verse 39, wherein Sanat Kumara says, "My dear king, the false ego of a human being is so strong that it keeps him in material existence as if tied up by a strong rope. Only the devotees can cut off the knot of this strong rope very easily by engaging themselves in Krishna consciousness. Others who are not in Krishna consciousness but are trying to become great mystics or great ritual performers cannot advance like the devotees. Therefore, it is the duty of everyone to engage himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness in order to be freed from the tight knot of false ego and engagement in material activities."
Continue. Complete that.
This tight knot of false ego is due to ignorance. As long as one is ignorant about his identity, he is sure to act wrongly and thereby become entangled in material contamination. This ignorance of factual knowledge can also be dissipated by Krishna consciousness. As is confirmed in the Padma Purana as follows, pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness is the highest enlightenment, and when such enlightenment is there, it is just like a blazing forest fire, killing all the inauspicious snakes of desire. The example is being given in this connection that when there is a forest fire, the extensive blazing automatically kills all the snakes in the forest. There are many snakes on the ground of the forest, and when a fire takes place, it burns the dried foliage and the snakes are immediately attacked. Animals who have 4 legs can flee from the fire or can at least try to flee, but the snakes are immediately killed. Similarly, the blazing fire of Krishna consciousness is so strong that the snakes of ignorance are immediately killed.
So the snakes of ignorance are this false ego. And so therefore, he quotes this very important verse from the 4th canto, 22nd chapter, text 39. This is Sanat Kumar to Prithu Maharaj, famous verse. Yat pada pankaj palasha vilasa bhaktya karma shayam gratitam udgratayanti santa tadvan rikta matayo yatayo piruddha shroto ganastamaranam bhajavasudevam. So here the important word is karmashayam, karmashayam gratitam udgratayanti santaha. So the santa is referring to the devotees. So the devotees, they are able to cut this very tight knot of karmashayam. Karmashayam means the false ego along with the various karmic reactions, the various desires for enjoyment. So this is the tight knot of false ego, which the devotees can try to untie by the practice of Yat Pada Pankaja Palasha Vilasa Bhaktya. Only the devotees who are vilas. Vilas means what?
Enjoyment.
Yes, they're enjoying, relishing, and more specifically, they are experiencing the beauty of Krishna at every moment. That means what? There is higher taste. There is higher taste. This is a very beautiful verse. It is very nice if devotees can read the commentary to this verse by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada gives a very beautiful purport to this verse. You can read it. But the essence of Srila Prabhupada's purport is this higher taste. So the devotees experience the higher taste, and because they experience the higher taste, they are able to cut off this knot of false ego, give up the bodily misconception of life. And he says, Tadvan na riktamatayo. Riktamatayo refers to the mind is empty. That means it's empty of devotional service. And that's referring to the jnanis and the yogis. For them, it is very difficult. They cannot ruddha. Ruddha means stop. Stop the waves of sense enjoyment. It's very difficult for them. And so therefore, this tight knot of false ego can only be destroyed by the practice of devotional service. Acharyas explain that this ignorance begins to get destroyed from the stage of Nishtha Bhakti. From the stage of Nishtha Bhakti, it begins and it is completed only at the stage of Bhava and Prema. Now, this is once again substantiated by Sutta Goswami in 1st canto, 2nd chapter, when he is describing the series of verses from Srimvatam Swagata Krishna to Bhidyate Hridaya Granthi Chidyante Sarva Samshaya. So that Bhidyate Hridaya Granthi, same thing. Hridaya Granthi. The Hridaya Granthi refers to the false ego. So that verse is referring to the stage of Bhava and Prema. That's 1st canto, 2nd chapter, text 21. And in that purport, very interestingly, Srila Prabhupada writes that for such a devotee on the platform of Prema, Krishna unties the knot of false ego. This is what Prabhupada writes. Krishna unties the knot of false ego. That means what? It's not within my hands. This false ego is so tight knot, so deep-rooted. Only Krishna can untie it. But for that, by the practice of Vedi Sadhana Bhakti, one has to come to Bhava and Prema. Then Krishna will do it. But the beginning is from the stage of Nishtha Bhakti. So when one is steadily practicing devotional service, then gradually the false ego reduces. So these are evidences to show that how by the practice of devotional service, the avidya, the false ego, is destroyed. And of course, we have the other verses. Krishna Surya Sam Maya Andakar Jaha Krishna Taha Nahi Mayara Adhikar. And we also have the other verse. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janyatyashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayad Ahetukam. So that's how by Jnana and Vairagya also the false ego reduces. So these are various evidences to show that how all the various aspects of the cycle of sin, beginning from avidya, then bijam, papam, aprarabdha, prarabdha, kutam, everything is destroyed by the practice of devotional service. That is the potency of devotional service, which we have mercifully got by the causeless mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and through Srila Prabhupada and Parampara. So that is the glory of devotional service that we are studying about. And so we have to be grateful that we have received this devotional service. And of course, we should practice it seriously so that we can experience the wonderful effects of the practice of devotional service. But a question still remains. Still devotees suffer? So we'll discuss that tomorrow. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu ki jai, Samved Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare